Welcome to All Things Possible TV. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Our topic today is create your monumental shift. That's huge, and I'm so happy that you are here and able to take on your life in a new way and that you want to make a shift. Before we go into a lot of our details for today, I want to invite you to go to my website, www.allthingspossible.biz. Again, right here on the screen, www.allthingspossible.biz. I teach about 7 traits to create your thriving life. To create your thriving life, you can have this change with just those 7 traits. But what I also want you to know is that to have that to create that thriving life for you, you have got to be willing to make some changes, take some steps into a new direction, and look at how your life could be better if you made a few different choices, a few different decisions. I also want to invite you to a special gift, and that is a strategy session with me. You just need to go to that website, again, www.allthingspossible.biz, and click on the Contact Us button. Put your information in and put in there that you would like a strategy session. I offer these free on this TV show. Sometimes you can't even get them for free anywhere else. So it's my gift to you and your opportunity to see how we could work together, see how we could make shifts in your life, and have that session with me to see some steps that you can implement right now. So let's jump into this. Create your monumental shift. Now, there's a lot of different shifts you can have in your life, and I, for one, have had a lot of them, and I want to tell you just briefly about a few for you to get an idea of what we're talking about. Now, I have had shifts with my son getting cancer. That was a monumental shift in our family, in our life. We had to change everything. It created this huge, massive debt of money. We had all these different things, and we had to make a monumental shift. But the important part in that shift, if you've not heard my story, you need to go back and find it, because the story of my son when he was 9 was the monumental shift for us was when we chose to still serve. That we weren't going to roll around and wallow in the negative, and we weren't going to stay there because it wasn't serving us. And we had to make a shift. We had to change how we felt. We had to change in the choices we were choosing. That was a very big example for me. Now, I will be completely honest, that is not how I always do things. That is not how, at that time in my life, I always did things. I've always tried to be a positive person, always tried to be out there. I've always done service. We've always had gratitude. Those things we've always just wrapped our arms around, loved, and it was part of us. It's part of who I am. But there's been some times when I was in deep, deep depression, frustration, and completely angry at all I was having to go through and all these things that kept coming into my space. Now, another monumental shift in our life was when my twin brother committed suicide. From one night to the next, he was gone. That, again, monumental shift. Now, I don't want you to think that all the monumental shifts in our life are going to be these negative things that happen to us. People start to feel like the shifts, these monumental shifts that are things that happen, that is not the kind of shift I'm talking about today. That's why I'm not going into great detail on these stories. I had to shift and I had to do something different so that I didn't have that depression. And if you listen to that story, you will hear the story of how that first 6 months, I did everything I could to serve that family. Go and help my sister-in-law with the kids and do everything I could. And it was when I stopped and started focusing on myself, quit trying to do for others, that I went into a deep depression, and it was probably the worst time of my life, one of the worst anyway, that I ever had. That is not the kind of monumental shift I'm talking about today. Although we have to have those shifts, we have to have that big crisis happens and those big trials come and we have this, oh, what am I going to do? And we do have to change how we're doing things. But today I want to talk to you about the monumental shift that you can do in your life. You can take charge of your life. You can take action. You can take steps to make a monumental shift. Create the shift. Not have it just happen to you. I've had plenty of happen to me's. But the shift I want you to go away from this episode with is, how can I create a monumental shift in my life? I want to quote Albert Einstein. He said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and hoping for a different result, right? You think that you do the same steps over and over and create a different result. That's insanity. If you don't do something different, you will not have a different result. You will not have a different outcome. And that's why he actually gave us this definition of insanity as being doing the same thing over and over and thinking we're going to get a different result. I want you to know that you can't keep doing the same things over and over and over if you still want change in your life. You've got to be willing to create a monumental change to get that different outcome. I teach all the time the 7 traits to create your thriving life. Those 7 things, if you live by them, your life will change dramatically. Even if you just were to implement 3 or 4 of them, your life would change. Most of us are doing some of them, but probably not all 7 of them to the capability that we need to have our life be what we want. The most successful people put steps in their life to continually move forward, constantly challenging themselves, constantly taking in good reading and uplifting things to improve themselves because they want that consistent change. So they're taking those baby steps. This is what I say all the time. It's the little things that we do on a consistent basis that ultimately change our lives. So if we want things to be different, we have to be willing to do it differently. Go with me 2 years ago, 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, to Scottsdale, Arizona. I was involved in a training. It was a 3-day training. In fact, I got a phone call. I'll take you back the week before. I'm headed to Lake Powell. Anybody who knows me knows I love Lake Powell and I visit it a lot. But I was headed to Lake Powell with my husband, and I got this phone call that said, hey, you won a ticket to this Thrive event, and you need to come to Scottsdale to actually be able to participate. And I was like, okay, tell me a little bit, what's it about, la la la. And then I said, I'm on my way to Lake Powell. I'll come back next week and decide. It was the following week. So I said, I will come back and decide if I really want to come to this event. Now let me put you in the position that I was in. This was 2012. I had just had my oldest son with cancer. He'd broken his back and then had 3 brain tumors. We did broken back, 3 brain tumors, and radiation in 7 months. I also had my daughter, who was a senior in high school and was very busy, very active, very involved in plays and leadership positions, and was doing that. I also had a big investment into a company and had a big organization that we had been working with that was now tanking and not doing well. And I had still had my nephew, who was from my twin brother's suicide. I had taken in many years after the suicide. He had severe Asperger's, and I took him in as a troubled teen. Was I busy? Yes. Did I have tons going on? Yes. I also had some issues with myself, had some surgery. This was a tough time. I got to September. My nephew was out of our house at that point. My daughter had left for college, and my oldest son was now back in his own home on his own. Here I was. I didn't feel any worth whatsoever. I'd been keeping all these people alive and changing their lives and doing all these things, and I was sitting there playing solitaire on the computer going, I really should like organize my house or change this or change that. All my kids had left. I was now an empty nester, which at that time for me was, oh, I was sad. All I wanted to be was a good mom. And I was just like, oh no, they don't need me anymore. I hope you're getting a picture of what this looked like, because I really had this deep, deep yearning that I knew I had to do something. And I knew I was supposed to do something different. I knew I was supposed to write a couple of books. I knew I needed to tell my story, but I was still sitting back going, nope, I don't have the body I had when I was a model. And I don't have the belief in myself. I didn't love myself or value myself. I was just like, okay, whatever. I all the time was speaking to groups and making changes and differences in other people's lives, but I was never giving myself credit. I'd gone to all these trainings and all of this study and all of these things thinking, oh, I'm going to be better. Oh, I'm going to be better. And yet implementation of the belief system wasn't happening. So I get home from Lake Powell and I contact the facilitator for this event. I knew her pretty well. And I said, okay, here's my thing. I'm not in business right now. We are just shutting that business down. I've just had all these things happen. If I come down to this event, Thrive was take your business over 6 figures in a year. I'm like, what if I come down there and I don't have a new business for you? Our other business already was over 6 figures. And I was like, what if I don't have that? And she said, I don't think you need it. You know how to be in business. You've been in business and self-employed and been an entrepreneur for all of your adult life. So you've had 28 years of experience. I feel like it's a great event for you to be to, and I think you'd really do good. Now, the only reason I committed, and this is a really funny true story, is my son had just moved to Arizona not that long before, and he owned a home in Arizona in Phoenix area. And I said, wait a minute, the dates on this, it starts the day after his birthday. So I'll go home, fly to Phoenix, show up for his birthday, have this big surprise and this big exciting time. I have somewhere to stay, I can take his car, I'm in. So I chose to go. And I told my son, okay, so if it's stupid, if it's like all the other trainings I've done, if it's just the same old, I'll just stay with you and hang out at your pool and have fun. Great plan, right? I was all in. What I can tell you is I started out that morning. Yeah, I'd had a great birthday party the night before, staying with my son. It's beautiful. September's beautiful in Phoenix. And I walk into this event. Everybody's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you do? Because I was in this transition. I'd been a very, very successful businesswoman, been an entrepreneur for years, had a 6-figure business that was just going like, you know, gears in a motor. It was functioning perfectly. It was my husband, hamster in the wheel, making it work, right? And I didn't have to work. But I was like, I don't know. I know I need to write a book. I know I need to get my story out there. I've been through all of these hard trials, but I had not embraced taking it to the next step. By lunchtime, I'm sharing my story with about 8 people, and they're like, why are you not speaking? And I was like, I'm not sure. And they were like, you've got to tell your story. And finally I said, okay, I used to model and I don't look like I did. And I just don't feel like I want to be on stage like that. I don't have the confidence in myself to do that. And they're all like, that's crap. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was. No, I don't look exactly like I want to. Yes, I'm doing something about it. But I had to believe in me. It came down to me making the decision. That is the number one thing. I had to make the decision that I was going to do something different. And I had to step into that with everything about me. So by lunch, I come back from having lunch with these new friends, and I tell the facilitator, I am a public speaker. Now, I don't know what you guys do, but when you actually command that that's what you're doing and this is how you're going to do it, she was like, awesome, all in, right? And I'm going, oh, I am so in, so excited, total download. Everything started coming together. What I can tell you is I made that shift, rebranded our company, was actually speaking out of state within 5 weeks of that event. It was phenomenal. I have not looked back. I have been running like crazy for 2 years and built the business of my dreams. But what I can tell you is that I had to make that decision. I had to be willing to take that step and to get out of my box, get out of my comfort zone. I had to start to value me for who I was, what I had been through. For so long, I had been like, oh, we go through tough trials, we get through tough challenges. Oh, I've been through this and this and this. I could name off all these challenges, all this death, all this severe illness. And we were powerful during it. We were volunteering, we were donating stuff, we were in service. We had gratitude. We came through them just with flying colors. But here I was, everybody was gone. Nobody needed Kris anymore. Nobody needed Mom. The people that were calling me knew I had been through stuff, knew I was capable, but I wasn't believing it. So the first step was my decision. The next thing that I went to was that I wanted my life to be different. I knew deep down in my heart, and have known this for years, that I was meant to change lives. I was meant to get out there and do something about it. And yet I didn't know how that was going to look. I had to be willing to step out of my comfort zone, move forward with some ideas and go, hope this works, right? Hope it's received well, and be willing to just trust my heart, trust myself, and believe in me. If I don't believe in me, who will? I teach several different things, but one of the things I teach is my 8-week course, which is 7 weeks of 7 steps. And it takes you from that what's working, what's not working, to what do you want in life and how to get there, how to put it out there in the world and to move you forward. I spend a ton of time in gathering this content and going through, when I went through these challenges, what was the first thing I did? What was the second thing I did? What did I have to do to get out of that? To not feel that pain, not feel that pressure, not carry it all on my shoulders, right? Because I've done it both ways. I've been completely depressed, needed medication, needed all these things. But wait, my twin brother committed suicide after he was depressed and they changed his meds. Okay, that wasn't my answer. You need to find out what your answer is. And what I can tell you is when you do, you will create a monumental shift. A monumental shift that creates your life to move forward in a big way. Now that might not look like self-employed, have to be in charge, and have to be on the stage, right? Doesn't have to look like that. What that could be for you is to be the best mom you've ever wanted to be. To be someone who has integrity with themselves. That was my second step, was the integrity with me. Here I was, I could go speak at any group of women and tell them they needed to love themselves and that they needed to do service and they had to have gratitude. Yet I wasn't loving me. I was not in a position to even think I mattered. I was last on the list. That can't happen. Your integrity with yourself is so huge. When you are not in integrity with you, you can't be in integrity with anyone else. It starts with you, right down deep inside of you. You have to be able to trust yourself. You have to know that when you make a commitment, you will keep it. Now, if you haven't seen my integrity piece, go watch it, because you need to know why you shouldn't be hitting snooze. Those who have been in a live event with me, those who have watched that episode can find out how just hitting the snooze button and not being in integrity with what time you're going to get up can change everything. Little shifts are what will make this monumental shift. Now, I did change my whole world. I already had the company All Things Possible. We had investments. We had great things happening. We had a diet and exercise company that was doing fabulous. But it didn't stay. And rather than let that tear us completely apart and drag us down the mountain with it, we chose to step out, make that decision to create our own monumental shift. So Scottsdale 2012, I will never be the same because I am now a speaker, right? Even though I'd been speaking before, just had not admitted it. I love what I do. I love to be out there. I love that I can make a commitment and I keep it. I keep it with myself. Now, commitment is your step. Once you pass that decision, you've got to make that choice and decide that you want life to be different. You want it to be better. You want better relationships. You want more time with your kids. You want a better job. You want to be self-employed. What is it for you? Once you embrace that and you make that decision and you're ready for that next step, it's about integrity. It's about holding yourself to your word. Keeping whatever that is inside of you that you feel in your heart, keeping your integrity with that. What do you want to do? How do you want to change the world? Why should we listen to you, right? And maybe you don't want to change the world. Maybe you just want a better relationship with your spouse. Maybe you want to feel unconditionally loved. Or maybe you want to unconditionally love your children. Many of you have watched episodes where I talk about my son that is gay. That was really hard. That was a monumental shift in my life. Again, one of those that happened to me, monumental shifts, totally happened to me. But my monumental shift is how I decided to handle it. How I decided to go out in the world and say, hey, everyone in this world deserves unconditional love. And I'm going to stand my ground, be my word, have integrity with myself, and let everybody know, right? Those are the things that can make a huge monumental shift in your life. Listen to your heart. Trust yourself. Decide that you're all in and that you want the results in your life to change. It's as easy as starting with the 7 traits that I teach. Go to my website, download, just enter. It automatically comes to you. It's a 7 video series that automatically comes to you and gives you those traits with stories, implementation, and ways for you to look at it different. You aren't going to watch All Things Possible and see the same thing everybody else says. I stand my ground, and there's going to be things that you're like, I'm not sure about that one. But what I can tell you is I've put it to the test. I've been the depressed, frustrated, absolutely negative person. Everything was bad. I've been the one that lost best friends over it. That was too negative to want to be around. That was me for a while. Yes, I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. Yes, I wasn't embracing all that I could be, and I was being negative. I was taking it in, and people didn't want to be around me. That's not what you want. That is not creating the monumental shift in your life that you want. Learn from others' mistakes. That's one of the best things that I have learned, is that if I can learn from somebody else being out there making the system crash, that I can have better success. I love that you're here with me. I love that you want change. If you didn't want change, you would not be watching this video. I want to offer to you again the opportunity for a strategy session. Go to my website and click on that Contact Us button. You can have a strategy session with me. I will listen to where you're at and give you some tips, some pieces of information, and maybe some ideas that could really make a shift for you. Let's find out how we can work together, how things could be different for you. I've had it both ways, and I wish that somebody would have been like, oh, you have got to do this different, or why is this happening? Help me to see the patterns that I was placing in my own life that was getting in my own way. For a long time, I was the one in my own way. I was the one that was looking for the negative, being in judgment, and creating just this negative feeling for myself. I was the one that didn't care about me. Let's have a strategy session together. And also, go to my website, get those 7 traits. 7 traits to create your thriving life. At All Things Possible, we want you to have the best life you can imagine. We want you to have those things that you desire. We want you to be healthy, happy, and love everything about your life. And if you don't, we want to help you release it, let it go, and get past it. There's no reason to stay stuck. So go to the website, get the 7 traits to create your thriving life at www.allthingspossible.biz. Again, that's www.allthingspossible.biz. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope that you really got a piece of the monumental shift. I know that when monumental shifts come and they're something that happens to us, we do have to shift and we have to decide how we're going to handle it. Those are going to come. When you want to create your monumental shift, that's about you. Make the decision to go forward. Make the decision that your life is no longer the same. Let's work together and let's create your monumental shift in your life. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time on All Things Possible TV. Bye-bye.